Plarium released some new content in the way of the clan sieges, and everybody hated it, so they decided to get a little nostalgic on it. And when I opened up the game today, I saw that Ninja has made his grand return. So they brought Ninja back into the game. Everybody who does not have him can get him for free. If you're a new player just starting out, you can actually use a specific promo code to claim him anyways, even if you wouldn't have got him during the regular login period, which is pretty cool. This is going until August 15th from July 18th. Essentially, just go to your shop, claim the offer, log in for 5 days, you'll have them. That being said, I'm going to show you how I, as a late game, have my Ninja built so you can possibly get some ideas. I'm going to talk about the ways that you can build him, different gear sets that are good on him, all that sort of good stuff. So let's go ahead and hop straight into it. What does he do? He has an A1 where he has a 60% chance of placing a decreased defense. Also fills his own turn meter by 15% when used against bosses. A2 is going to attack 3 times at random, each hit having a 100% chance of placing an HP burn debuff for 3 turns. Also places a perfect veil on himself for 2 turns. When used against bosses, will instantly activate any HP burn debuffs, including HP burn debuffs placed by this skill. This is how you get to his iconic state where it's tick, 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 and it's taking away massive amounts of HP coming off of the bosses, because not only do you have the hit which is counting, you also have the HP burn activation which is counting, and that's going to damage other enemies in the waves as well, especially if you have other HP burns out there. So he can basically just slam into a bunch of different enemies, notably stuff like Sand Devils. Of course, he's very good at taking out their HP. Any sort of bosses in the Doom Tower, really. Anywhere you need somebody killed quickly, this guy is the way to do it. He is basically the boss killer that a lot of free-to-play or low-spend champions are going to be using. His A3 attacks all enemies, 100% chance of placing a freeze for 1 turn. When targeting a boss, will only attack the boss, not all enemies, and ignore 50% of the target's defense. Will also decrease the cooldown of the Hail Burn skill by 1 turn. This part will activate even if he's not targeting a boss, by the way. I don't know why it wasn't placed like up here, for example. His passive increases Ninja's attack by 10% up to 100%, so he doubles his own attack and crit damage by 25% each time a single enemy is hit by all 3 of Ninja's active skills in a single round. This effect can occur multiple times against the same enemy. When fighting bosses, will increase Ninja's attack by 20% up to 100%, and crit damage by 10%. So basically, he's cycling against bosses, he's getting multiple hits on the same individual. So let's say a clan boss, for example, right? He's cycling through his turns. Every time each of his skills hit the clan boss, so every time he's landed both the A1, A2, A3, he's then going to increase his own attack by 20%, and he can stack that all the way up to 100% or 5 times total. This guy can be an absolute monster. Having a champion that can build themselves up and double their own base attack is insane, especially once you consider that you can put an increased attack on top of that. He can put out some ridiculous numbers. I have him in Brimstone. Brimstone is definitely a very solid way to run him. I haven't touched my Ninja build in forever, quite literally, so there's probably some better blessings that you could do these days. Again, though, Brimstone is definitely a solid way to go. If you have him High Awakened, you could also use Crushing Rend. And you can very easily run him in Cruelty as well, since he's going to be very good at ticking that damage onto the enemies multiple times and getting their defense decreased quickly. I'm going to throw my infographic as usual up on the screen here now, so you can take a look at that. It should be like somewhere right up over here. And you can see the priority stats there. Essentially, you just want to keep this guy alive. He doesn't have a whole lot of survivability. If we take a look at his base stats, he's only got less than 17,000 HP. Less than 1,000 defense. He does have 100 speed. He has more than usual crit damage, I believe, with 63. Here are the stats I have on him. 44,000 on the HP, 2,000 defense, 206 speed, a little bit over crit cap. We'll get to why he's built like this in a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and throw on the Sand Devils Necropolis bonuses, which I don't have any apparently, but that is where he is built for. That is where I use him. So if you're using him somewhere else inside the game, you probably want to go ahead and build him a little bit differently. There's essentially 2 ways that you can build this champion. I'm going to throw the multipliers here on screen now. However, he doesn't do an obscene amount of damage multiplier only. So definitely most of his damage is going to come from those HP burn activations and the fact that he can also semi-reset his skill as well with the A3. definitely make sure that you're going ahead and running his A2 with a priority over the A3 so that you can get those cooldowns to be decreased right after. Also, this guy is fantastic in any sort of refresh accessories, any sort of reflex gear sets, those sorts of things. If you're running him with a reset team, obviously he's fantastic as well. Anything that's going to cycle through turns a little bit faster. If you have a relentless set that you can run on him, that is going to work fantastic as well. This is the gear. So the gear is definitely tuned very heavily. This is a pretty trash piece apart from the accuracy on it. The gear is tuned very heavily to try and give me as much accuracy as possible, because I was actually, of course, running him in the Sand Devils as my duo team with a Godseeker and Neri. 100% success rate. Those two champions just go through it and farm it, no problem. You can feel free to copy his stats if you're going to do it. It works for stage 25 Sand Devils. That being said, Sand Devils had their stats massively reduced recently, so you need less accuracy, you need less survivability overall. He's not surviving the hits anyways, so he just has a bunch of accuracy pumped into him to make sure he can land his debuffs. If you're using him for Sand Devil 25, one of the things you'll notice I put in the infographic is a Affinity Breaker set. Why is that? Let's go ahead. Let's hop over to the Forge here and go to Affinity Breaker. This is going to increase crit damage by 30%, and it also gives a 50% chance to change a weak hit into a critical hit. This is important because Ninja is actually the wrong affinity for stage 25 of Sand Devils, so a lot of times your runs will actually get slowed down by a little bit of that pesky RNG, where he basically just slams into the boss with his A2, and it doesn't do a whole lot of damage because all the HP burns don't land because they're weak hits, or of course his hits don't do any damage because they're weak hits as well. So definitely consider running him with Affinity Breaker if your primary use case is going to be Sand Devil 25. I'm actually thinking about rebuilding him at some point myself, but I have not got around to it quite yet. We have survivability on the ring, we have accuracy on the amulet. I might have a better amulet here if we take a look. Actually, let's see, primary stats, crit damage, secondary stats, accuracy. Let's go ahead and go to equipped. I could probably run something like this actually. I lose a little bit of accuracy, but that should be perfectly fine, and I gain a significant amount of crit damage, which I think will be more important. What else do we have? Genbo. Lose basically all stats there, not really too interested in that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and snag it off of Negorio here, throw that onto my Ninja, perfect. So that brings his overall stats up to look something like this now. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go ahead and throw this as a preset. We'll do preset manager. We'll do Ninja Sand Devil. We'll just put no space here. Sand Devil. We'll not save the accessories. The reason we're going to do this, we're going to save it as a global preset. That way I can easily re-equip this gear. What we're going to do instead is we're actually going to throw him into my Wukong's gear. So this is the kind of stats he'll be pumping: 4,800 attack, 269 speed, 102 crit damage. Sorry, 102 crit rate, 245 crit damage, significantly less accuracy, so I just spent 1,000,000 silver to showcase this for you guys. You are welcome. We are going to go ahead, we're going to go into Dragon and do the classic damage test here, of course. We're going to take out Magnar. We are going to go ahead and find our Ninja, who is Magic Affinity, so he's a good matchup for stage 20 of Dragon. Let's go ahead and let's run this here, so we don't really need to worry about bringing any sort of buffs. I do actually have Helm Smasher on this champion as well. I haven't shown you the masteries yet. I'll have to do that right after. I just want to show you the damage here real quick first. So we're going to come in, do the increase attack and increase speed here. Then we're going to do the weaken on them as well as the decrease speed. Ninja is actually faster than my Lydia, which is a bit of an issue in all honesty. We're going to go ahead and AoE here, see what kind of damage he can do. This is on his A3. They have a weaken up, of course. Boom. So he does about 70k, it looked like there. Let's see, how much slower is my Lydia? That's crazy, actually, that he's faster. I didn't even realize that. 263. How fast is my Ninja? 269. That's so close. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hop into my Lydia here and see if I can get her a little bit faster to showcase this properly. I'll be right back. So I was too lazy to completely re-gear my Lydia, but we do actually have a substitution here, which is going to be, if I can find her somewhere, Uko. So Uko's actually going to come in. She is a little bit faster. She's going to place the decreased defense anyway, so this should work perfectly fine to go ahead and showcase it. We're going to throw it into 2 times speed here. Boom. Increase turn meter. Boom. Throw back their turn meter. Uko comes in with her A2, block buffs, and decreased defense. Now we're going to slow it down, and we're going to smack. Boom. So I seen about 66 to about 196k there. Just depends on if Helm Smasher procs or not, I suppose. Let's go ahead and basically just take a look at the damage here. So if we take a look at Ninja, he did 434,000 on that particular wave. Let's go ahead and do this again. We'll do this on the A2. We're going to go boom, and we're going to do weaken, decrease speed. We're going to go ahead and decrease their defense. We're going to slow it down. We're going to go ahead and do the A2 here, and you can see he's going to do about 50k per hit, and then of course he does place the burns on there. Unfortunately, he didn't get the burn activation just because he didn't hit one enemy multiple times, so he would have got significantly more damage there if he did. As you can see though, this is built out with pretty good attacking gear, and he doesn't do a whole lot of damage in all honesty. So once again, if you're looking for the stats on this particular build, he is built out in a lethal set, and he's going to be rocking 4,800 attacks. So this isn't the best build essentially. Like, you could definitely have more attack on here, but I think this is a fairly accurate representation. If he's not doing too much for damage at this level, he's not really going to do it at a higher level either, right? And that's not to say he's not doing damage by any means. But at the end of the day, there's champions that with this particular gear, they would already be doing a little bit more damage than him. So he's not really built to be just that straight out nuker that you just build with a lot of attack. He's bringing in a lot more utility than that, and you want to use him in a way where he's activating his HP burns. Let's go ahead. We're going to throw the preset gear back on him here. So that would be the Ninja Sand Devil, 550k to re-equip that. And before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and find my son Wukong too and throw that gear back on him. Just so that I don't go into a live arena match or something like that and it's not on him, because that would be very awkward. Let's go ahead and let's hop over to Sand Devils real quick, and I'll show you the run on Sand Devil 25. Important thing about this run is you do have to bring some food champions as well, otherwise it's not going to work. We're going to go ahead and look at the total stats here. 214 on the speed for Godseeker and Eerie, a lot of HP, a lot of defense if you're trying to copy this. The other thing I almost forgot to show you as well, let's go ahead and take a look at the masteries here. So like I mentioned, I come down to Helm Smasher here. The reason for that is there was a point where I didn't want to run any sort of Giant Slayer or those sorts of things on him for Sand Devils. It was messing them up for a period of time. I believe they have changed that, and at the higher levels it's not really going to make or break your runs. However, I would recommend just testing it and seeing what works on your particular account. If you're not going in the offensive tree, another very great way to go is Eagle Eye. I always recommend the Evil Eye, which is going to decrease the turn meter by 20% whenever he hits somebody with an A1. He's very proficient in counterattack masteries as well, since he's placing the decreased defense as well as boosting his own turn meter and all those sorts of good things. With him, you basically want to bring as much accuracy as possible and crit rate and a little bit of attack if you can, but I wouldn't prioritize the attack too much. You definitely want to make sure he's reaching the speed and the accuracy thresholds a lot more before you start worrying about putting him into certain gear. That is why I have an accuracy chest plate on him. Let's go ahead. Let's do the Sand Devil run. You can see how it goes. So basically what happens is we come in here. The Sand Devil goes first. He nukes everybody down. Godseeker and Eerie revives herself, revives Ninja. His skills are reset. If you had him 5-star or 6-star awakened, this run would be a lot quicker because you'd actually get the protected Brimstone placed on him. You might be saying to yourself, well, I'm not farming Sand Devil 25, or I don't have Godseeker and Eerie to use with this composition, all those sorts of good things. You know what? That is perfectly fine. Ninja can be used anywhere in the game where you need a boss to be killed quickly, and he's going to do it very, very effectively. If we think about a place like Fire Knight, for example, traditionally you wouldn't really want to bring champions that do poison or HP burns to the boss, because the whole strategy with the Fire Knight is to essentially get his shield down and then keep his shield down. Ninja, however, is the exception to that because of how he can detonate his own HP burn debuffs. So you can bring him, he can place those HP burns, he can pop them and do a ton of damage to the boss. Of course, somewhere like a dragon works quite well as well, where he can basically just chew through that overshield that the dragon gets when he's using his, I think it's a Scorch ability is what it's called. Use him against the Frost Spider in Doom Tower. He works absolutely fantastically for that. I use him every single day in that rotation when I'm farming the Frost Spider because I'm quite a fan of the Frostbite set. Might have to do a talk about that set on its own at some point. You can use him against Griffin. I actually use him against the Griffin as well. You can use him basically anywhere. Even Nether Spider, he's very good because he can do the AoE freeze and freeze all of the spiderlings as well, which is a strategy I actually used. If you're using any sort of HP burn composition inside the spider dungeon, he's very effective too because you can have him target the spiderlings. Keep in mind, if he's running on auto, he is going to target the spider, which means his A3 doesn't do an AoE. So it's not an AoE, sorry, it's not an auto-friendly team. If you're using him somewhere like Spider, it's going to require a bit of manual input, but he can definitely help you to push your account if you need to get to areas that you haven't been yet. And Lord forbid we forget to talk about Faction Wars. This guy is insane for the Faction Wars. His HP burn activation just blows up the Faction Wars bosses. And not only that, he's bringing a crap ton of control for the waves with his AoE freeze. If you have him built fast enough, he can basically cycle around to it between rounds multiple times per round, just keeping everybody frozen as well. He could be used in Fire Knight hard just because of his A3 freeze. They're definitely better champions for that role, but if you have somebody who's already doing the freeze and you just need some crowd control or something like that, he can definitely help out with that too. As you can see, we did a 2 minute and 33 second. There's quite a decent amount of weak hits in that run. Ninja himself did almost 3.1 million damage, basically soloing the boss on his own with a little bit of help to stay awake from Godseeker and Neri. Now, he is an insane champion, and it's very hard to understate how much of an impact he is going to have on your account if you did not have him previously. I would not hesitate personally to book this guy out, to ascend him, and to get him to 6 stars. He is definitely worth it. You are not going to regret it, in my opinion. In my opinion, if you are a whale or somebody who's got incredibly lucky and you have some of the OP champions like a Crixia and a Teox and all those sorts of things, you might not benefit from him, right? But for 99% of players, I would say this guy is going to boost your account significantly. That being said, I hope this video helps you to understand a little bit how you want to build him and what you can expect from Ninja. Thank you guys all so much for watching and the support on the video, and I'll see you next time.